It's great to be at Trinity Laban working with the brass department and this fantastic project which I've been so interested in for so many years. As a teenager growing up, I came across this iconic 1958 album by Billy May, and I got this album and I was hooked on it. And ever since then, I've thought it would be wonderful to do this live. So the music I had to find. In comes an amazing orchestrator, arranger and composer, Andrew Cottee, who did a lot of the reconstruction of the MGM scores for John Wilson and the John Wilson Orchestra. And I met him through doing that orchestra, and he actually, first of all, took down 8 of the 12 numbers from the album. Those 8 numbers are now 12 because I got him to do the remaining 4. So this concert that we're doing at Trinity Laban is actually the very first time that those 12 numbers, the entire album, has been performed live since 1958, as far as I know. It's wonderful to be back working with those students, and their approach has been fantastic. And it's quite a shock in styles because they're mostly classical players. And the change in style, the change in using different parts of their technique to create this unique sound. It's just fantastic that they're all doing it, and that they seem to be enjoying it. I hope they are. Those guys back in the 1950s, they played as though their lives depended on it. And so that's what I've been saying to the students. Play as though your lives depend on it. Put in everything you can, put in some passion into music. And of course you can actually apply that to any kind of music. We've got this fantastic concert which is based around the original Billy May Big Fat Brass album. But in order to flesh out this repertoire, I, a few years back, asked another Trinity Laban alumni, Colin Skinner, who was a bassoonist, saxophone player, arranger and composer. He's done lots of arrangements for me in the past. I said, how about writing some new arrangements for the same lineup? And we're finishing the whole concert off with an amazing suite that he did for me of tunes from Carmen. All the different styles are in there, genius writing, and you never know, we might have a little brief appearance from Colin himself. I was at Trinity Laban in the 1980s, so 82 to 86. During that time, the principal was Meredith Davies, and he had the foresight to have to go into a concert at Ronnie Scott's Jazz Club to employ a gentleman by the name of Bobby Lamb. And Bobby was an amazing trombone player, composer, leader of a big band and session musician. All the classical guys that went to the college to learn to play brass instruments or saxophones or whatever, they would have the big band on offer, if you like, and Bobby used to take this big band. And that was one of the main reasons that drew me to go into Trinity Laban, really. Whilst I was at college, obviously I was playing classical music, I was playing in the symphony orchestra, and so that was the kind of career path I thought I was going to take. But in the end, I really wanted to be as broad as possible. Whilst I was at Trinity Laban, some of the things that I learned were of things that have really stayed with me all my working life and my musical life. Mainly from my teacher Norman Burgess and also from the great Bobby Lamb. I can always remember that every big band rehearsal started with a very slow Count Basie number called Little Darling. And the reason for that was Bobby was always talking about time. When we play music, it doesn't matter whether it's classical music or whatever, we occupy a space of time. And so we have to kind of fill that up evenly, depending on what the tempo is, of course. So when we have crotchets that are played slowly, it's very difficult to play them without rushing and not relying on a rhythm section. Most people say, oh, well, you just listen to the drum and you go with him, or you follow the conductor. No, you have to be responsible for your own time. And so I learned that from Bobby. That was one of the first things. So I did lots of my lessons was about the beauty of playing. Learning that kind of beauty of sound has stayed with me. My time at Trinity Laban was just the best, really. And I always say to students, make the most of being there because it goes very quickly, but it'll stay with you for the rest of your life. career highlights for me have actually been some quite varied things. One of the career highlights, of course, I must mention first really, is the fabulous John Wilson Orchestra. We're asked to do a prom in 2009, and that prom was really a big turning point in all of our careers, really. But it was the first time it was brought into the public's eye. It was just one of those nights where the audience went ballistic for this orchestra. The orchestra was so committed to playing that kind of music, and it was so right there in front of you. It was live on BBC television. Once it started, that was it, we were off. But that was an amazing night, and it's something that's etched in my memory forever. Another career highlight really was back in the 1990s. I was lucky enough to be asked to play on a James Bond film soundtrack. I've just actually played on the latest one, No Time to Die. I played first trumpet on that, but back in the 90s, it was the first time that I'd ever played on one, and I turned up at the studio in North London, 10 o'clock on a Monday morning, and we sat down to play, and it was the motorcycle chase from Tomorrow Never Dies. I've always got a shiver going up my back now just thinking about it. I was also very lucky in the sort of late 90s to do a concert with the late and most wonderful opera singer, Jessie Norman. And I did a concert of music by Duke Ellington, in fact his sacred music. So it was the concerts that Duke Ellington had given in Westminster Abbey. Jessie Norman decided that she would sing the songs from this concert, and a big band was formed in London to do that, of which I was asked to play featured soloist on. She liked my playing so much that a few days later her manager called me up and said that she wanted me to join her on a world tour with her. We actually did one duo appearance, so believe it or not, just trumpet and voice, and that was at the Tate Gallery. It was amazing then, actually, at that performance. I'm, side of where we're going to go on, seeing her and how she psyched herself up for a performance, and her breath control and the way she sang a melody, and I learned so much from that, and that's a massive highlight. I've always been somebody who listens to all genres of music, and in the words of Duke Ellington, there are only two types of music, good or bad. And as a kid, I used to put records on at home, but I wouldn't just listen to the record, I'd play along with it. So it might be Der Rosenkavalier, Richard Strauss, played by the London Philharmonic Orchestra on a Classics for Pleasure album. I'd play along to that. Or it might be the Philip Jones Brass Ensemble, or it might be the Glenn Miller Orchestra, or it might be Billy May, or it could be anybody. I would play along with everything. So that trained my ear, not just pitch-wise, but also trained it in the different sounds. So now if I turn up to a recording studio and there's some music in front of me, and of course you've got to get it right first time really, because nowadays they record straight away. So you look at it, and straight away you're trying to look at it and sort of sing it through and think, I wonder if that's that style. And I log back to something that maybe I played with a record when I was 15 at home. So that's really important, I think, and I've been trying to get that across to the students here as well. Back in 2009, when we did the first John Wilson Orchestra prom at the BBC Proms concerts, he couldn't believe there was an orchestra in the UK playing the way that the Hollywood guys used to play. He agreed that he would come over to do the prom, and so we all met Seth, and he loved us all, so much so that he then started to do his own recordings in London. He sort of cottoned on to the fact that I was a part of the John Wilson Orchestra and I was the lead trumpet player, and he liked the sound that I made. And then eventually he invited me to go out to LA I did some Christmas concerts. In fact, I did one in LA just before Christmas, and then I flew back and got back home on Christmas Day, and then I went out with my family again just before New Year to do a New Year's concert in San Francisco with him as well. I did a solo album a few years back, and he said some very nice words on that, and he really likes what I do, and he's a real ambassador for really quality, light music, commercial music, but quality stuff. And there's plans in the future to do a lot more. Really, my advice for students would be to listen. Listen is so important, whether you're performing in a concert, you're listening to yourself practice. Technique in practice is really, really important. Singing stuff. Any phrases that the students have found tricky on this music, I got them to sing and then play. Because if you can sing it, you can play it. The other thing is to be amicable with people, get on with people, have fun, but be serious about what you're doing. Play as though your life depends on it. All those things together, try really hard, be hungry for it. Passion, hunger, all these things need to be built in. So you've got to have that, be passionate about it, live for it.